anyone at all from Shirley Temple to Amy Semple is equally understood. Go out and try your luck, you may be Donald Duck. Hooray for Hollywood.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting Network premiere podcast. Damn you, Hollywood! Last Christmas, Robert Winfree gave you his heart, but the very next day, Alexis Hejna took it away. This year, damn you, Hollywood will save you from tears, and I'll give it to someone special. It's Robert Winfree, ladies and gentlemen. Yay!
I don't know how much time you spent on that, but I am shocked that that's all you could do with that much time. That was just...
Damn, I lost money on a bet. I was convinced it was going to be Dominic the Donkey that you were going to start singing tonight.
It's not a song.
It is, to a song. Stop being racist against New York Italians, number one. And number two, the amount of time I spent preparing that intro was probably less than 30 seconds.
It showed.
Indeed. I don't put a lot of work into this. Hi, Robert.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Alexis.
Hi, Mark.
All right, Robert, what do we got on tonight's agenda?
All right, tonight here on Damn You Hollywood, we'll be slogging through the greasy vanity pit that is The Rock's ego.
Oh, good. I'm not the only one who thought this was a vanity project.
You know what I thought about you, the way you said that, and I disagreed with that a little bit, but I found, I think, a better way to say it.
Okay.
This was an Adam Sandler movie.
This was how accurate you actually are.
This was, hey, we all had a really good time together last time. Let's do it again, and we'll figure out all the stuff like plot.
Oh my God!
The actual movie as we go along.
You're right. This is Grown Ups 2 in the desert.
So,
all right, here comes the money.
Well, you told us we had to wrap things up early tonight.
Yeah, that was kind of my feeling walking out of that movie was, the script feels like about a decent second draft. Like, there's clearly still work that needed to be done there, and it desperately needed a competent editor. Because there's a bunch of stuff that could have been cut easily. And it seemed more like an excuse for these guys to get together and hang out and shoot a movie again. And that reminds me of every Adam Sandler movie for the last 25 years.
See, I thought it was just an excuse for them to hire Awkwafina to do her crazy old person impression that she does in her stand-up. And Eddie says squeak.
Oh, is that what that is? I mean, like,
I don't know who. Hang on, who is that?
Yeah, that was Awkwafina, comedian, actress. The only other thing I've really seen her in before this was Crazy Rich Asians, which I'm just gonna say actually is not a bad movie.
My wife loves Crazy Rich Asians, and first time
your wife is in fact every almost middle-aged white woman ever.
I am aware.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue there.
The other thing I will tell you is that the first time I saw Awkwafina was in the all-girl reboot of Ocean's 11. And I didn't know what the hell an Awkwafina was. And my wife had to explain it to me. Apparently,
it's a brand of drinking water, isn't it?
No, that's Awkwafina. This is Awkwafina.
It's pronounced the same way, but it's spelled differently.
Yeah, kind of like awkward, but fina. Apparently, she started out as a YouTube thing, and then she gained great notoriety. And now she's in pictures. She's in the moving pictures. She's in the talkies, Robert Winfree.
She's in a foreign or a Chinese film that's apparently getting a lot of recognition. Everyone's saying she's incredibly good in it. So supposedly she's not a bad actress.
Which one?
The Farewell, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
So, I mean, the only movies I'm familiar with is she's just goofing around. But from what I've heard of her in other films, she's a pretty decent actress. So.
Oh, I mean, we can kind of deconstruct what this movie is once we get into the critical analysis of it. So in the meantime, in between time, Robert Winfree, hit me with that sweet, sweet plot synopsis.
There is no plot. This movie is a loosely connected series of bad jokes. However, the plot, such as it is, goes roughly as follows. This movie is set 3 years after the events of Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. And our intrepid band of teenage jackwagons have now gone their separate ways. Spencer is living in New York City, attending New York University, because I imagined every other school he applied to turned him down. I genuinely cannot imagine anyone voluntarily living in New York City. That makes no sense to me.
Move it along, Robert.
I am racist against giant urban metropolises. Yes, I know.
Oh, I love it that you're using racist now. Thank you.
If
Isn't
I can
it
apply,
technically xenophobic?
no. I mean, if anything, what's the name? Well, what's the technical term for city planning?
City planning?
I have an uncle who's a city planner and manager. I'll have to ask him if there's a slightly more technical term, because it would be like that, phobic, rather than anything else. Anyway, he is there in New York, being miserable, as students in New York tend to be, I imagine. It's just such a common trope, I feel like there has to be some truth to it. Our friend the Fridge is engaged in some kind of collegiate athletics program at an unnamed school. Bethany is doing volunteer work in Costa Rica. Martha is at another school. And they're all coming back home for the holidays and kind of look like they want to get back together and just meet up because they have remained friends after the shared trauma bonding experience that was the first movie. And when Spencer gets home, he finds his grandfather, Danny DeVito, living at home while he's living with his mother while he's recovering from hip surgery. And he's just, again, deeply depressed about his life and existence and has a minor existential crisis and decides to rectify this by becoming The Rock again. I mean, on the one hand, I can't fault the logic. On the other, come on, man. So he had acquired the broken video game system and kind of put some of it back together again in his basement and is subsequently sucked into it off screen. Thank you, Eddie.
Yeah, sorry. With the squeaky toy commentary, everyone's favorite corgi.
Hey, he's probably more popular than I am at this point. I am completely okay with that. He's a dog. He is a much better person than I am by default. So our group gets together. There's a bit of a backdrop between Danny DeVito and Danny Glover's character, who the two of them used to be partners in a restaurant that they've since sold. It's now Nora's Cafe. Incidentally, Nora in this case being Bebe Neuwirth, which is her reprising her role from the original movie.
Actually, kind of cool if they're setting up for another sequel in direction they may be going with the return of some other characters.
Well, what's her face? I can never remember this woman's name.
Bonnie Hunt, Kristen Dunst.
Kristen Dunst, thank you. Kristen Dunst isn't doing anything.
Isn't it Kirsten, not Kristen?
I have no idea, and I do not care.
One of those two. Anyway, so they meet up. They decide they still can't find Spencer, so they head to his house to look for him because, darn it, you will come out and be social. They eventually surmise that he went into the video game as Danny DeVito and Danny Glover try to reconcile a little bit after their friendship kind of broke after Danny Glover sold their restaurant because he was ready to retire and live life with his wife and, just be done. What's the line he said? I spent 35 years on my feet doing 100 plates a night. I was just done with it.
That's not unreasonable.
Fair enough, man. That is entirely that is entirely fair. Our normal group goes into the basement, sees the machine hooked up. They debate briefly about going in after Spencer and decide, yes, he'd go in after us. We have to go in after him because this bit of lemming behavior is just such a good idea historically. They activate the broken machine. They do not get a chance to choose their avatars. They are sucked into the game. And the broken game actually also sucks in, as we come to find out, Danny DeVito and Danny Glover.
We're not calling them by their character names because it's just Danny Glover and Danny DeVito.
Yeah. And in a minute, they're just going to be The Rock and Kevin Hart.
And all of a sudden, the movie turns into an hour of Kevin Hart doing a Danny Glover impression. And it gets old fast.
It's kind of scarily accurate for about the first 2.5 minutes. Like it's good.
Okay.
It just never changes. I know, I'm moving. We enter the world of Jumanji again. A lot of the avatars are swapped around this time, though. Again, Danny Glover is now Kevin Hart. Danny DeVito is The Rock. The fridge winds up in Jack Black. And, in all seriousness, Jack Black does not get enough credit for both in the previous movie being a teenage girl, and in this movie going from quasi-angry teenage, slightly old, early 20s black man back to early 20s teenage girl. He needs more credit than he gets.
I don't
Jeff,
want.
Probably the best thing in this film.
I keep yelling at you guys, stay focused, but I have to say, they could have very much called this movie Impressions the Movie, and it would have been entirely accurate.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
To the chagrin of our returning characters, this is not simply a rehash of the previous adventure. They have a new one. They encounter Nigel, who takes them and then airdrops them into the middle of the desert, where Jack Black discovers that his weaknesses... They discover that their characters have grown. They now have slightly different strengths, maybe weaknesses. Jack Black's character discovers that his weaknesses are, and I quote, endurance, heat, and sand. I almost wish that he hadn't said anything after just revealing that. Just let it be a sight gag.
That was absolutely hilarious. He taps his chest and he just stares blankly. He's like, crap.
The Rock now has a weakness, that being Switchblade, who we find out is another character. So Kevin Hart now has linguistics, which means he's Dr. Dolittle. So they now have to set off across the land, save Jumanji from Jurgen, one of the two.
It's the Hound from Game of Thrones.
Is that who that was?
I will take your word for it. I have never seen an episode.
Yep, that was the Hound. And for the record, props to the actor for actually getting his first Game of Thrones role. He was one of my favorite parts of that series, even as the 8th season made me want to put a bullet in my head. So he's good at this. He is.
Jurgen the Brutal, who has stolen some mythical gem that's existence in the sun provides ecological... It's a stupid game plot. We go with it, but it's... Oh, God. Somehow
it's a rip-off of Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm not the only one who thought that.
No, that's fair. And somehow the plot of the video game makes more sense than the plot of the movie, but... So they head to they're told go to the Oasis, which is just a city, where they encounter Spencer, trapped in a petite Asian woman, and who is a cat burglar, lockpick thief with allergies. Somewhat correctly notes, this is basically me in video game format. I came here to be The Rock. But they kind of reunite and track down Jurgen. There's a few bits I'm skipping over, like there's a scene where they're chased by ostriches across the desert. They're chased by mandrills across floating bridges. They steal a Jumanji berry, because this is a thing.
World's most disappointing Deus Ex Machina.
Oh God, boy, was that weak.
Yeah.
That was like the weakest of weak tea week. Like, that was watering down water in the apple juice container week. Like, really.
That's like Principal Skinner watering down the orange drink week.
Yeah. That was Lunch Lady Doris. There's not a lot of meat in these gym mats anymore, as she feeds it into the meat grinder. Point being, weak. Anyway, they steal this Jumanji berry, which they were advised to do. They track down Jurgen, encounter him once, doesn't really work. They further track him to his actual... they start tracking him to his fortress. Round about this time, we are reintroduced to Bethany and... Alex, I think?
Alex, yeah.
Is the character. He was the guy who was originally trapped in Welcome to the Jungle and then was spat back out 20 years in the past. And he lives in that same town, but he's just, middle... I forget the actor, because I've seen the actor in other things.
Colin Hanks. That's Tom Hanks' son.
Yeah. A perfectly serviceable guy. And Bethany appeals to him, please help me get in there. They're my team. I have to save them. And for some reason I get the impression he got sucked in accidentally because, hey, I've got a family. I'll just risk my life. Anyway, they go into the game to help. Alex winds up as Nick Jonas again. Bethany becomes a horse.
Of course.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm not the only... Because I knew that Nick Jonas's character was back in this film again. He shows up in the trailer. Tell me I'm not the only one who, when he came riding in, we all assumed that Bethany had taken his avatar. We were going to hear Nick Jonas talk like a teenage girl.
You mean Nick Jonas talk like Nick Jonas?
But I'm bummed.
Da 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 da. Sorry.
I couldn't help myself.
Somebody says we need to move it along.
Hey, the World 1-1 Mario song. Let's all sing that. Anyway, what they stop before they actually assault the fortress because things have not been going well. Danny DeVito as The Rock is a bit short-tempered and unstable, and Kevin Hart's impression of Danny Glover is just saying everything really slowly and taking long tangents, and this is not the best thing for the character who's supposed to be dispensing information about the area around them.
Again, exactly like Danny Glover.
Yeah. And Fridge is just really not happy about being Jack Black. What they wind up finding is another pool of water, and it's similar to the water they found around the tree that had the Jumanji berry on it. And when Martha and Fridge went there initially, they accidentally switched bodies a couple of times. So they all jump in to frigid glacier water in what I have to imagine is near sub-zero conditions, fully clothed, but they are all able to kind of switch avatars around. Spencer is The Rock again. Fridge is now Kevin Hart. Bethany is Jack Black. Danny DeVito winds up in Aquafina. And Milo, Danny Glover, goes into the horse. As they take the evening to plan and avoid hypothermia, Danny Glover and Danny DeVito are captured by the forces of Jurgen. Our group winds up mounting their rescue attempt. Nick Jonas rescues the horse, which he discovers is actually a Pegasus that is used for dramatic safety effects.
Again, with the weakest of the Deus Ex Machina. There's a lot of those in this film.
Yeah. We get a big fight scene. The Rock winds up confronting the Hound. I'm just going to say it that way. Their fight scene is a little bit one-sided in favor of the Hound until The Rock smacks him with the Jumanji berry, which is his one weakness. And he then is able to steal back the Stone of the Falcon, throw him off out of a falling Zeppelin, because consistency, thy name is not Jumanji. He winds up tossing the stone to Danny DeVito as he is riding the Pegasus. Breaks because the deciding factor for this is they have to expose the stone to the unfiltered rays of the sun, so they have to fly up through this cloud cover that's over the Himalayan mountain range that is the home of Jurgen's fortress. Flies up, says Jumanji, all is well. They revealed throughout the course of the movie that Danny Glover is sick with. They never say what, but he's sick and has very little time left.
Probably cancer.
Presumably.
That was my guess.
And he decides to stay behind and try to keep an eye on things here in the virtual world, and actually gets a pretty one of the few decent lines in this movie. Is part of his reason for staying is, I'm 78 years old and I just learned how to fly. I'm not quite ready to give that up yet. Everyone is returned safe and sound. There's a little bit of personal growth from Spencer, learning that, everyone has a bit of imposter syndrome, and just because I'm miserable, I shouldn't shrink myself into this tiny little ball. He's the only one that has anything roughly approximating an arc of the original characters. They all get together at Nora's. Danny DeVito hits on BB Newirth successfully, and hey, you know what? Good for you. Our big pseudo hook for a sequel is the furnace repairman, because they referenced a few different times that the furnace at Spencer's place is busted. The furnace repairman is a bit of a game enthusiast and sees the somewhat disassembled game plugged in and decides to go poke at it because he is an enthusiast and hasn't seen the system before. And then we see a herd of ostriches charging down this New Hampshire street. And our intrepid band of heroes look at each other and kind of go, WTF.
Oh, no.
It kills me because that's actually a really good hook for a sequel. And I actually really enjoyed it. And I'm sitting there going, why couldn't that be attached to a better movie?
Yeah.
I want to see where it goes, but I don't want to relive the crap we just sat through.
All right. Let me sum this up really quickly, and then I'll pitch it to you guys, and we can move this on. I said before, this was my two thoughts coming out of this. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I took my kids and their friend to go see this. They all laughed. They all had a good time. This movie is not meant for intellectual digestion. It was
I'm
made.
sorry, are you accusing any of the three of us of being intellectuals?
Oh, I am not. But let us not confuse this with a movie that needs serious discussion. Okay, this is candy for the masses. It was made because the first one with this set of characters made nearly $1 billion. It was just shy of that. So it's, they were going to do another one no matter what. So it's part that, it's part Dwayne Johnson vanity project, part these actors wanting to work together again and do another project. So it's all of those things. It's also essentially, as I said before, Impressions the movie. It's The Rock doing old Jewish guy, Kevin Hart doing old black guy, Jack Black doing young black guy, and Karen Gilliam doing hero flips. That's fucking it. At one point, she'll do young black guy as well, which is kind of funny. But that's basically the movie. Everything else is just there to kind of stitch all of these things together. Robert already went through the plot synopsis. That kind of makes up the trunk and branches of this. And then they threw all that stuff on top of it, and you made a wonderfully garish and bright Christmas tree. Beyond that, what can one say? Jack Black is funny when he does impressions. Dwayne Johnson's old Jewish guy, I'm glad about midway through the movie, once they ran the joke into the ground, they switched him back, because it really wasn't funny anymore. The beginning of it's funny because this is the guy who does all the crazy action movies, and he's cooler than the other side of the pillow, and when he was a wrestler, he epitomized the cool guy. And so being grumpy old Jewish man, it's fun to see him kind of step outside and do this really over the top impression. They were able to stretch the joke further than it had any right to be stretched, because the other thing they did with it was, oh, he's also crotchety and in love with his new power. And you can say, so there's little dribs and drabs of characters having little mini arcs. Danny DeVito is wrestling with age and bitterness and frustration. There's a whole thing about that at the beginning. And so he gets to be The Rock for a little while, and he's like, oh, look, I'm young, and he beats up 45 guys, and there's a joke about how he's really bad at that character for that reason. But he is struggling with the concept of he's a game avatar, and B, he kind of is what he is, and he's reveling in his power for however long he has it. Then Awkwafina does the same joke, and I don't know how good or bad an actress Awkwafina is. I haven't seen enough of her stuff to really judge. She was fine in the Ocean's 11 movie. In this one, she kind of does the Christian Bale jutting out the chin thing. She's doing a lot of acting with her body. So old people do this and they look that way. And she's trying her level best to portray that. And it was funny, and they did just enough of it at the end of the movie to where for me, it didn't get old.
It got old.
Your mileage may vary, but there was so much other stuff going on that I was getting tired of The Rock as an old man. She wasn't doing it long enough for me to get tired of her. Kind of the same thing with Jack Black and Kevin Hart, where by the time they got to switching them, I was more than over those actors doing those impressions.
Especially since they weren't going to... if they had been going somewhere with the... If they'd been trying to go somewhere with the characters like, hey, we're going to learn and grow. No, it's only played for gags. And if it's only played for gags, then you have to know when the gag is up. And like you said, your mileage may vary. For me, it went on too long, which is true of the entire movie. This thing did not need a 2-hour runtime.
Yeah, it probably could. There was a lot of setup in the beginning, and I guess you had to give the lead enough of this movie's version of A Shitty Life just to make him want to go back into that level of danger. But it does take it does take a long time to finally get the kids to the mall. Here's what I'll tell you about that last bit there. They are able to. There are moments in the movie where they are able to deal with some degree of character development. A lot of this, like I said, it's really you get a lot of it with The Rock, in dealing Danny DeVito as The Rock, dealing with age and bitterness and all of that. And him and Kevin Hart, Kevin Hart is Danny Glover, do spend some time dealing with the fallout of their friendship and mending that fence. So I think it's not giving the movie enough credit and giving it short shrift to say, well, there was no character development and there was no plot. That's a bit of an overstatement. The plot's thin, but it's there.
It is a very slight exaggeration so that you understand to get the point across. It is not the literal truth.
I will tell you that I think this movie is made up. It's definitely a third, and that might not. I might not be giving it enough, splitting this up enough. But I feel like a third is about right. Maybe more, a little bit more. This movie is a third gags and impressions, but it's also a third character driven, and then the last third is action set pieces. There's not a lot of action set pieces, and I think that's one of the drawbacks of this movie. I feel like they probably could have beefed this up a bit.
For the record, you are being generous.
You have the car chase in the beginning. You don't have your first action sequence for like a good feels like half an hour, 45 minutes into the movie. Between all the setup. And so your first action sequence is a car chase from ostriches. And then
it's not even a great car chase.
and then there's a lot more exposition, a lot more moving along in the game, and a lot of gags. When they get to when they find Awkwafina, that's not really an action sequence. They don't really do anything. The next big action set piece is essentially the bit on the bridge with the mandrills.
Yeah,
which I actually thought was one of the only enjoyable scenes in the whole movie. I thought that was well done.
That whole sequence is pretty good. You have Jack Black going, "Hey, geometry, it's useful."
The problem is it's like 90 minutes into the movie.
Oh yeah.
So your second.
I'm also going to say this. I think the bridge scene, we also enjoyed because it's one of the few scenes that legit feels like a video game.
Yeah, I was going to.
We've all had those stupid platforming segments that make you want to throw the controller across the room.
And
where you have to remember exactly where to jump each time.
My kids over the summer got Yoshi's Crafted World, and there's a degree of that in the game where basically there's like platforms as a puzzle. You know what I mean?
Buddy, you have never... Have you seen what people do with the Super Mario Maker?
No.
Oh, God, the nightmares.
Look it up. Or, in a similar vein, if you want to see, like, pixel-perfect platforming, feel free to look up I Want to Be the Boshi.
Okay. I just remember over the summer, not only am I dealing with, cancer treatment, but I'm also having to get my son through some of these more difficult levels of Yoshi's Crafted World with those kinds of platform-type things. And... you don't want to get violent in front of a child, but boy, did I come close at times.
That's a really interesting way to start a sentence. You really don't want to get violent in front of children.
Just reminding yourself, the replacement controllers are expensive.
Yeah, I had to remind myself I was living in someone else's house. Throwing the controller through the television was not an appropriate response. The point being... it's 90 minutes into the movie before you get to your probably the best action sequence of the whole film. The part that felt like a game, the part that was interesting, had interesting visuals, had a real sense of tension, which the rest of the movie doesn't. The movie seriously lacks believable, palpable tension, except for this one scene. And then you have the end sequence, which drags and drags and drags. And it's funny.
There's so much in that. And I mean, when I say this movie needed a good editor, look, if you were to take that bit about Kevin Hart being a eunuch and put it in isolation, okay, I can see that it's funny. I really didn't need a 3-minute bit about this character having sacrificed his testicles, and how Kevin Hart is desperately trying to pretend that an avatar he's playing who is faking the existence of another character isn't actually... like, there's so many layers of stupidity there.
I feel like we said this about another movie where, like, it was a very similar comment about needing an editor and needing an adult in the room to say, no, enough's enough, we need to move on with this. And being too...
I'm sorry. The minute that joke came out, I'm looking around because there was a handful of parents with kids. I'm like, oh, here comes the fun car ride back. Mommy, what's a eunuch?
It might have actually been Hobbs and Shaw where we had that discussion. I don't remember, but I feel like
I'm sure we did have one. I'm sure it came up when we talked Hobbs and Shaw.
But I feel like you and I, Robert, had a discussion earlier this year about being too in love with your own jokes, not being willing to kill your babies. And, the movie just consists of these overly long, like almost like Family Guy-esque bits that are just interminable and will, and drag the movie down. So I get what you're saying about that, but just to wrap up kind of my analysis of this movie, the whole third act goes way too long and
doesn't even have a good payoff.
Well, like the final end sequence. It's okay. I feel like we just saw this bit with somebody jumping onto an airship, and I like earlier this year. I feel like we saw something very similar. Oh, fucking again, Hobbs and Shaw. You had the one helicopter or plane or whatever taking off, and then you had the rock hanging from it and the truck and do that whole bit. Would actually look cool, and I thought was well done. Whereas this, it just felt like they had spent so much time doing gags and exposition that by the time they got to the end, they were like, well, this can't be the Avengers. This can't be a 3-hour movie. So they rushed the ending. So, the good. I thought there were really nice character pieces in this for what they were. The impressions are funny for a time. And everybody looks like they're having a ball on screen. The bad, it's too long. It needs editing. And there's not enough action sequences for an action movie. Alexis?
First of all, like I was saying earlier, way too many Deus Ex Machinas. The whole thing with the Jumanji berry was completely wasted. Who else here thought that was going to be like a secret one man or something?
I was my honest thought was, it'll be a 1-up. Like someone's gonna die, and they'll feed their body this berry, and it will give them one more life.
See, I thought it was going to be more of like a Popeye spinach thing. Like The Rock is supposed to eat it and then get superpowers. Instead of just like smashing, instead of squishing it into this guy's chest, he eats it and becomes the Hulk. Right.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was going to be kind of like the coin in Ready Player One, that it was a hidden, one man or something at the end, and then he just smashes it on him and it glows purple, and then you see his screen pop up and his weakness is the Jumanji berry, and I'm like, huh? How are you even supposed to put? Again, I'm thinking in the brain of a gamer, and I'm going, how would you even know to put 2 and 2 together to do that? Nothing in the clue about the Jumanji berry led you to believe that.
The only thing you do is The Rock does see his react. Like it kind of gets crushed a little bit in his pocket, and he pulls it out to see what it is, and the Hound sees it, and that's the point when he, instead of pursuing the fight, backs off and says, "You know what? I'm out."
I get
that's
that.
it.
Honestly, the biggest disappointment for me was the switching bodies. When they when Jack Black and Karen Gilliam switched bodies the first time, and again, I'm getting all my names mixed up here. Jack Black is freaking hilarious when all of a sudden he's Martha and he's got his hands across his chest. He's like, "Oh my god!" Now, I mean, it's so funny to see him going from playing.
And there's literal hair coming out of my face.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was so funny. And then they switch it back. See, I thought we were going to get a thing where because they had switched in the water, their avatars were glitching, and they were going to keep switching with the different players, kind of like a bit of what we got with that second Fantastic Four movie where Johnny Storm keeps switching powers with whoever he touches. And I thought that could be a really good bit with the characters jumping back and forth through the different avatars and having them all do different impressions very times, like, okay, who's who, what happened. Yeah, I thought that would be so funny, but instead it is so lazy. And that's the biggest thing. So much of this film feels like it was very lazy and rushed in. I mean, oh my God, having Bethany come in as a horse, and then all of a sudden Danny Glover is now the horse. And I don't know why I should care, because Danny Glover's only role in this film so far has been so Kevin Hart can do his Danny Glover impression. Which I might think is funny if he sprinkled it a little bit into a stand-up. I don't want to see multiple minutes of this crap. And again, the mid-credit scene was good. And frankly, that's the movie I want to see. Forget everything about this second film. Start the movie up with the four meeting up on their holiday break. They're returning. The repairman touches it. You get the huge thing of animals running down the street. Start the movie from there. I'm actually more intrigued with that.
Ditto.
Dude, you could do it, have kind of a combo of the Robin Williams Jumanji and the Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle. You can now really combine both their worlds. Hell, again, you could bring back Bonnie Hunt, Kristen Dunst, and whoever the hell the kid was who played the little brother, because I sure don't think he's gone on to anything, and if he has, correct me if I'm wrong. But that
does kind of assume he's still alive, too.
I have no idea. But I think that would just be so much more enjoyable. This film feels like it was just too much, too lazy, and all building up for something that, frankly, we'd much rather see. It's like the end credit scene of Justice League when I see Deathstroke. It's like, why couldn't they just bring in Deathstroke? I want to watch Deathstroke.
So for the record, the actor's name is Bradley Pierce, and the last couple of movies he was in was Deacon as Lieutenant Linus Carter in 2018. He did no movies prior to that for 20 years, so his last one before that was 2000. It was called Down to You. In television, he hasn't acted in TV since 1999. And in animation, the last project he did was in 2002 in The Cat Returns and Return to Neverland. Oh, but by the way, he also played Sonic the Hedgehog. He was in the 1993-94 Sonic the Hedgehog animated show as Miles Tails Prower. So there you go. There's that. Oh, by the way, he's also Chip. He's also Chip in Beauty and the Beast.
The original or the most recent? The original, I assume?
The 1991 animated.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm trying to remember which... There have been so many different Sonic series, I can't keep them straight visually in my head about which one is which all the time.
His most recent credit, besides Deacon in 2018, which has no Wikipedia link, he was in the Lego Movie video game as Good Cop, Bad Cop.
When you can't afford Liam Neeson.
Okay, so props. You can apparently do a good Liam Neeson impression. Those are valuable.
I'm pretty sure he's available to do any Jumanji sequels. If that's where they were willing to go.
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me how much better this movie would have been if that's the way they went with it.
I don't disagree. Or if they get done with you know what? Instead of that being the cold open, I might have had, you still keep a bit of the original setup where Spencer goes in. I just have them go in and get him out and have that be over and done with. Try to fake out the audience a little bit. Have them do that quickly.
All right. You both are living in a fantasy world where Hollywood doesn't operate under strict rubrics. I think it's fine the way they did it. People wanted to see more of what they got in the first film. They don't like change. So they got exactly what they wanted. More of Kevin Hart and The Rock doing Kevin Hart and The Rock. Oh, and Jack Black. Doing Kevin Hart, The Rock, and Jack Black stuff. Okay? Now I think after the second one, everything's like, okay, probably don't need to see any more of that. Now, if they do another one, I guess a fourth one, and they have it where the stuff from the game starts showing up in New Hampshire, I think people will be more accepting of it than if they cut right to that from the first one when people were still hot for Jack Black doing his best impression of a blonde valley girl.
See, I think it would be funny if the avatars actually pop down into the real world.
Yeah.
and the kids are trying to direct them. And it's like, wait, so this is what you're actually like? And they all of a sudden... I think that would be funny.
Oh, no, I don't think you're wrong. I think if this makes enough money and they do a fourth one, I think that's exactly where it's headed. So, I think you're going to have, Bravestone come out, and I think the other part about it is none of their powers will work in the real world. They'll just be people. And so there's stuff to play around with that. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. I mean, they're all talented and funny and have a good sense of humor about themselves, so I'm sure... if this movie makes enough to where they do another one, whatever they come up with will be just fine.
No, you guys weren't wrong, though. There really is no character growth in this. The only character who needed to learn anything was Spencer. The grandparent, Danny DeVito and Danny Glover don't really need to learn anything. They don't really change that much.
They change just enough for what's presented as the issue at the beginning.
I mean, reconciling or mending a broken bridge is an action more than character development in this case, I would argue. It's a nice thing for them. It is a nice thing for them to do and to occupy the character's time.
I struggle with that because if you were truly brokenhearted by the actions of something that a good friend did or you perceived did to you, and you are able to get over yourself and mend that fence, that is personal growth, and personal growth is character growth.
I'll give you that. I'm still not totally okay with the horse suddenly sprouting wings.
Okay, well, I'm got nothing for you there.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I know that Jumanji has always had an element of magic with it. I get that. Obviously, with the stones and and the ability to control the animals and whatnot, but that just took a giant flying leap off the cliff of we don't give a flying fuck anymore.
You know who also didn't give a flying fuck? Any kid that saw it. I had 3 of them with me. All didn't. They laughed at certain things. They were having fun with things and going to the bathroom at others. But you know what they reacted the biggest to? Flying horse.
As though it wasn't unbelievably obvious that's what was going to happen.
Again.
I thought it was obvious, but I was saying, please tell me I'm wrong. Please tell me I'm wrong. Please tell me. Damn it, I'm right.
9, 8, and 5 thought the fucking flying horse was... The flying horse and the bridge sequence were the best things in the movie.
Look, if the flying horse had actually legitimately changed into an attack helicopter, I might have marked. Because, I mean, if we're going to go stupid, let's just go full bore. That way you can say, not only did I learn to fly, I'm a freaking transformer. I'm not leaving this.
Robert, anything else? Any major disagreements from what I said or what Alexis said?
Not really. This movie is not worth discussing in any great detail, apart from to say, this is what happened. This movie is a very good example, and there's plenty of other examples of this. This is another one of what happens when you get a lot of people echoing each other's sentiment. When you don't have a legitimate contrary voice to say, hey, you know what? No. But this bit, it's funny. Yeah, and it's another 5 minutes on this movie we don't need. You need somebody to make that hard choice. And there was nobody to make that choice with relationship to this movie. That said, for the small children who are easily amused, I can see why they would enjoy this. I doubt they'd enjoy it a second time because there's so much, like you said, for an action adventure movie, the adventure's weak and there's not enough action, and that's a problem.
Yeah, I think that covers it. Alexis, anything else?
I say just go rent the first one again. The first movie wasn't anything totally special, but it's a fun 2-hour popcorn and candy film. It's one of those movies that you can just sit back and enjoy on a lazy weekend. The sequel, not so much.
I was going to say, you're talking about the first one, the first Jumanji, right? The first one with The Rock, not the first one with Robin Williams.
I'm talking about Welcome to the Jungle. I mean, I don't think anyone here is going to argue that the first Jumanji with Robin Williams is bad. That's a great film, although it's now pretty laughable with the CGI. Special effects are not well.
Yeah.
Hang on, Sean and I. That's actually one of the first on trial Sean and I did, and one of us argued it was a bad film.
Look, some of that stuff has not aged well. Some of it's still okay, but it's a product of its time in that respect.
And you know what? Robin Williams was really good in it.
I genuinely can't think of a bad Robin Williams performance.
How about Popeye?
No. That's a bad movie. That doesn't mean his performance is bad.
Bite your tongue. It's a wonderful movie.
Shut up. It's terrible.
Shelley Duvall's best work.
That is not true either. Anyway, what'd you say, Alexis?
Nothing. You two were talking over each other. I couldn't hear what the hell you were saying.
Mark just tried to say that Robin Williams' version of Popeye is a bad performance.
No, I was saying that you think that.
That's not what I think.
That's just a script that deserved to drown.
Yes. See? Thank you. Again, I genuinely can't think of a bad Robin Williams performance. I can think of movies he's in that are less than stellar, but that's not the same. But he always gives it his all.
Patch Adams.
Again, he does a good job. The structure of the movie and whatnot, okay, it's not great.
Yeah, it was one of the worst adaptations when you actually read what the real Patch Adams did with his life and how hard he worked.
Truth.
All right, with that said, here comes the money. Whoops, wrong one.
I knew it. I knew you were going to do that again. Oh, my God.
All right, take 2. We'll fix it in post.
No, we won't.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here some money.
All right, at the time of this recording, Jumanji, The Next Level, on a budget of about $132 million, has made $216.4 million. So not bad. Not bad at all for its first week out in theaters. We'll see if it gets to be profitable at this point, especially with what's about to hit the theaters.
This isn't going to do the numbers the first... I mean, wasn't the first one like a shockingly almost billion-dollar property?
Yeah, everybody at Sony just almost dropped dead from surprise.
Especially that it not only came out against Last Jedi, but also Coco.
Yeah, that thing did really well, and especially against some stiff competition. This one, I don't think. I think it'll wind up being profitable. I don't think it's going to, do anything near what Welcome to the Jungle did.
They probably should have released it last month.
Yeah, there were a few weeks. There have been different places in the calendar when it could have run more unopposed.
I'm actually surprised they waited till the middle of December to run this instead of maybe the beginning of December and give it some distance between it and The Last Jedi and Cats, which is going to dominate the box office, by the way.
Rise of Skywalker. Shut up. Rise of Skywalker. Second of all, Cats is not going to do anything.
Cats is going to be the other movie that makes $1 billion this year.
Even I'm very, very hesitant. I'm biting my tongue a little bit when it comes to how I was about to say that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will not be reviewing Cats on the grounds that I don't think even any of us could gather what the hell to say about that film.
If I can get my daughter to focus for more than 20 minutes, I might do Darn You Hollywood and just have me and her review Cats.
I was going to say, even your idiot son isn't interested in this movie. That's how little anyone cares about it.
Look, all of us theater people can't wait for Cats. And in 2
That
years,
is,
we get Wicked.
No. That is not true. Even theater people are taking a dump on this movie.
There's only two groups of people that want to see this movie. A, theater nerds. B, the ones whose sexuality was suddenly awakened from seeing Taylor Swift sprinkle catnip in the trailer.
I belong to one of those groups.
No, you don't. Mark, you are not... I say this with love. You are not interesting enough to be a furry.
I was talking about being a theater nerd. Thank you very much.
No, you're not.
Sweet Jesus. Okay, before we offend anyone else, can we move on?
No. I'd rather we hit whatever last group we haven't offended yet. I'd rather they not feel left out, so figure out which they are.
This can't be the first time we've offended furries on this show. Jumanji: The Next Level debuted at number 1 in the theater. Frozen 2 dropped from 1 to 2. Already made $1 billion, by the way.
To the shock of
nobody. Knives Out fell from 2 to 3. Richard Jewell debuted at number 4. Black Christmas, I Gave You My Heart, but the very next day you gave it away. Debuted at number 5. Ford versus Ferrari drops from 3 to 6. Queen and Slim, very sad I haven't seen this yet. 4 to 7. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I love how you think for me, wife.
I just love how he comments on that film when this is a white guy living in Utah. He's probably the last person that movie is made for.
The very last.
Third to last.
Okay.
Look, the last 10 of us or so got together on the internet and hashed out our order. I am third to last.
Perfect. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood fell from 5 to 8. Dark Waters fell from 6 to 9. 21 Bridges 7 to 10. Midway 9 to 11. Playing with Fire 8 to 12. Parasite second week at number 13. Uncut Gems debuted at 14 but was in very, 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 very limited release. Joker fell from 11 to 15. Actual Last Christmas, I Gave You My Heart, but the very next day you gave it away. Fell from 10 to 16.
Is it okay? Just seriously, is it possible for you to say Last Christmas and not go into? I mean, are we getting a Cartman? Do
Do you have to ask that? Like, is that a real question
I
you're asking?
cannot
Of course, he has to.
I cannot say last Christmas I gave you my heart, but the very next day you gave it away without saying, last Christmas I gave you my heart, but
Shut
the
up,
very
Cartman.
next day you gave it away. Sorry. Somewhere out there's like, just fucking talk about the movie, dickface. All right.
No one cares.
For that guy.
We actually have that many listeners?
No.
Harriet fell from 12 to 17. Jojo Rabbit, 15 to 18. Bombshell, which is in limited release, but will make its full release this week. Making sure I go see it this Friday, as a matter of fact, after Star Wars. Debuted at number 19. And Honey Boy, Honey Boy, Honey Boy, Chris Bailey. Debuted at second week at number 20. So that's that. Worldwide, come on.
Nothing's changed. Look, here's the only change. Frozen 2, now number, 5?
8.
8. Really, $1 billion only gets you to 8 right now.
Yup.
Shall I say it?
Oh,
Sure.
yes.
All hail the mouse.
Indeed.
He requires fealty.
Right now, 8 through numbers 1 through 8 have all made $1 billion.
And
For
they're all Marvel. All Disney.
Hobbs and Shaw, who's petered out at 758, is number 9. Like, and it's so funny because like after that, the drop is so steep to anything resembling like a highly profitable movie. And then when you get into the 400s, just the 4 to 500 range, you get some interesting ones. You get Maleficent, It, Chapter 2, Pokemon, My People, My Country, The Secret Life of Pets 2, The Captain, Alita Battle Angel. You get a fair chunk just in the $400,000 range, $400 million range. But from like Hobbs and Shaw to Maleficent, it just plummets. So yeah, it was one of these years where if you were a Disney film or Sony, you did okay, Warner Brothers with Joker. If you were a comic book movie or Disney movie, you did okay, and then everything else just struggled. It's just such a weird disparity.
Yeah, it's not so much that Disney is dominating this one. We all knew it. We looked at that list of just releases at the beginning of the year, and we're like, okay, Disney 1 through 5 at a minimum.
Right.
Like, that's not surprising. The gulf between some of these is what is surprising.
Yeah, like nothing else even came close this year to getting to, I mean, the best they could do was Hobbs and Shaw, which was super expensive to make to begin with. And Universal saying it's profitable, so whatever.
They're full of crap.
Well, they probably docked Idris Elba's pay to, make a few bucks.
That poor man. His money was not as guaranteed as everyone else's, so he makes $1.50 for it.
So obviously, this weekend with Star Wars coming out, that's gonna just eat up the whole box office. So I'll be curious to see if anyone at this point even bothers to go see Jumanji. I mean, I guess some folks that didn't get to see it in its opening weekend that are fans of The Rock and Kevin Hart, but aren't fans of Star Wars. So that niche group might throw in some extra money, but it's going to be hard.
Or I was going to say the people who didn't buy their tickets in advance and don't understand just how sold out all the shows are. They're going to walk to the theater and go, "Oh, Star Wars is sold out. What else can we see? Oh, let's go see Jumanji." I don't know where that accent came from.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Minnesota.
Maybe.
I don't live in Minnesota. I don't go to Minnesota.
I was thinking
but that's the accent.
I was thinking maybe Sweden, maybe.
No, that's Minnesota, like southern Canada.
What if she was doing?
Oh, how you doing there, Day?
No, she could have been doing North Dakota, Fargo.
Yeah, that part of North Dakota is basically next to Minnesota. It's more next to Wisconsin.
Moving on to the fact that Alexis sucks at accents.
We're all bad at them here.
I was waiting for her to be like, "Oh my god!" All right, And then, of course, the other big competitor this weekend that, look, if you aren't seeing The Rise of Skywalker, you know you're seeing Cats. Everyone else will be. So,
Mark, stop beating that drum or I will break it over your head.
What are you gonna do when Cats makes $1 billion and I turn out to be right? Turns out to be Universal's biggest picture of the year.
You know, Robert, I'd like to remind you, you did have to apologize to Mark when Avengers crossed its number one of all time threshold. So
look, I apologize, but I didn't have to pay the bet in full because they had to release DLC for the movie to do it.
I wanna. Okay, so let's have a friendly wager. Friendly wager.
Hang on, no. We wagered on Avengers and I lost. You remember what happened the last time we bet?
Are you talking about Gambit?
No. We had an interim bet between those two.
There was a bet over Gambit?
Yes. This was 3 years ago.
And
when Mark was like, Gambit's going to be $1 billion movie. My bet was it's never going to get released. Guess who's right?
Just a reminder, folks, I have not been on this show as long as these two.
All right, so for the sake of time and brevity, make your point.
Okay. I have a good history of winning these things.
You do, because I'm a silly man.
Yes, you are. And I blame myself for this, because if I actually made you bet things of value, you wouldn't do this.
Oh, God, no.
So I'm genuinely, I'm happy to potentially make the bet, but I'm not sure what we'd wager.
Here, I'm gonna put a wager down. This thing crosses $1 billion. You have to see it and review it with me.
Okay, what's the time frame for it hitting $1 billion?
No.
In all seriousness, just because I'm not going out of my way to see the movie, even if I lose the bet.
6 weeks.
Okay, 6 weeks to make $1 billion.
Yep.
Am I included in this?
You can if you want to be.
Hey, I openly told you, Mark, part of me actually wanted to review this movie solely on the fact of it is going to be so much fun to talk about what a horrible piece of shit it is. And okay, there's certain movies that we see, like, Dark Phoenix, where it's like, oh my God, why did I sit through that? But there are certain bad movies that we see where we want to see it, where we just want to sit down. The Sleepwalkers, the Dungeons and Dragons, it's like, oh my God, I just want to enjoy this giant ball of cheese. And I'm convinced Cats is going to be the giant ball of cheese.
So in 6 weeks, if it makes $1 billion, you have to suffer through it, and then we have to figure out a date to review this thing. Now, when it doesn't, you can bow out of one. I'm going to still do it, and I'll just have to figure out somebody else to do it with me. But you can bow out of one review for the calendar year of 2020.
So I get two. So hang on. So I get two that I get to avoid for 2020 then.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm calling this. One of those I have already agreed to pick up the slack for you, Robert. But the other one, no. I don't want to know what he's bowing out of, and I do not want to be automatically roped into it.
I will give you fair warning.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Robert. You got to remember, when you say you don't want to review something, I'm usually the one that Mark calls going, hey, guess what?
What did you bow out of, by the way?
Legally Blondes.
It's not even on the calendar anymore.
Yeah, the release date was... Mark read bad information that he forgot to fact check and date check when he put it on the calendar.
Well, it was there for that and the Barbie movie were on the thing for the longest time, and then both just disappeared somewhere. So I don't think you actually have one that you've bowed out of, have you?
You know what? If that's actually true, if Legally Blonde is no longer on the calendar, then he still has a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you'll have two then.
Okay. That
you could get out of Birds of Prey, and then Alexis and I will just have to do that ourselves.
And I've already, for the record, I did volunteer to review that one because I figured that you probably need your only female presence to actually talk about Harley Quinn.
That's right.
She's an overexposed character trope at this point, who, despite having interesting bones and interesting stories being told featuring her along the way, just they don't seem to want to tell a good Harley Quinn story for the masses.
Robert, who are you trying to convince, okay? Comic-Con vendor who owns a copy of Mad Love in my comic book collection.
I'm just stating it for the record. I'm not trying to convince anyone. You either when it comes to Harley Quinn at this point, you either have accepted reality or you haven't.
All right, so there's the deal.
Okay. Okay, yeah, sure. I'm going to regret this. I know I'm going to regret this.
Mark, you better make a Facebook status out of this deal or something so we can't bow. Or Robert
No.
can't-
I am
No,
a man.
no, Chris.
I'm a man of my word when it comes to stuff like this. I always have been. All right, 6 weeks for Cats to make $1 billion. I now immediately advise the burning of every theater.
Do me a favor, wait till after this coming weekend. I'm taking my mother to see Wicked on Sunday for her birthday. Then you can burn the theaters.
Oh, no. I mean movie theaters. I genuinely, over that 6 week period, want there to not be enough movie theaters to show it for it to physically reach $1 billion.
Well,
Okay, burn them after Thursday so we can all go see Star Wars.
Well, that's not
You
a
know
winning
what?
argument
No.
for him.
You know what? No. I'm deeply tempted to all of a sudden include... If there's mass arson of theaters and everyone thinks it's Star Wars related, but actually it's just Cats related...
I saw a tweet earlier that one of the professional reviewers called Rise of Skywalker convoluted.
It probably is.
Well, now I can't wait to go see it. I'm now more excited than I've been all year. But
I mean, look, objectively speaking, the vast majority of Star Wars plots are convoluted. This one's going to be doubly so because they're trying to retcon a bunch of fan service into this, and hey, here's Palpatine again.
that's the other review I've seen on it so far is that I'm really trying to avoid a lot of plot spoilers, but reviews, non-spoiler related reviews that I've seen have basically been a combination of it's convoluted, it answers a lot of questions that neither movie answered prior, and I've either seen it's very satisfying or it's just serviceable. All right. Either way, let's get to our final segment of the evening, the part that everyone loves and can't wait for, the slaying of the critics. Damn it.
Are you ready?
No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
All right. Here we go. Ed Whitfield of the Ooh-Tray.
Oh, God.
The
You don't even have to-
Ooh-Tray.
You don't even have to say anymore.
Next
Oh,
level.
the dog.
Oh, sorry.
The way you say that has now made Eddie lose his mind.
No, he's just crawling on top of me wanting attention, and he got a little too close to the speaker. Sorry.
Next level breezy.
What?
The Ooh-Tray says next level breezy.
How does that qualify as a review?
I seriously don't get what he's talking about.
Well, we're all stumped.
Yeah, that makes no sense. How is that a sentence?
Matt Brunson of Creative.
That sounds like a marketing expression for deodorant.
Yeah.
Matt Brunson of Creative Loafing. The thrill is gone. The thrill is gone. Do, do, do. The thrill is gone. Sorry.
I mean, was there any thrill to begin with? Hang on, no, and I mean this in all seriousness. When we're talking about Welcome to the Jungle here, whatever you want to say about that movie, positive or negative, I think we can agree it is not exactly thrilling in any capacity.
Yeah, but didn't we just say that the first one had a little more action and adventure that this one just really couldn't get to?
Very true. I don't know. I mean, it's just a bizarre way for me to kind of get my head around. Oh, the thrill is gone. The thrill was never there to begin with. It's just even less so now.
Christian Lopez of Fan-Sided.
Oof, that rag of a website.
The film would connect with anyone who tried to teach their grandparents how to use the TV remote.
Yay, look at me. I'm so young and trendy, and old people suck. Ages
It doesn't
half.
change the fact that by the fifth time, The Rock said, "Are we in a video game?" I wanted to throw my soda at the screen.
Yeah, I wanted to find the writer and just smack them into next week. Okay, we get it. Why are you still trying to make this point?
So we are almost 90 minutes into this review, but we got a little over an hour that we've been talking. And we discussed, I think, some of the finer points of it and everything. We really, I think, gave a good, thorough discussion of this movie based on what it gave us. Keep that in mind when I read you what this professional reviewer from a radio station said about the movie. Tim Cogshell of Film Week, KPCC NPR Los Angeles.
Well, NPR's your problem.
This cracked me up. I'm sorry, these movies are funny. That's the kind of shit I hear at work from people who are not professional reviewers you hack.
Yeah, that's not really offering any real critique. I mean, for the record, if you found this movie legit funny, I think you're a poor soul who really needs an education. But there's nothing in this movie that's going to make me go, "Oh, what the hell is wrong with you?" You know, if you laughed at this movie, you laughed at this movie. Good for you.
I mean, again, there's funny stuff kind of taken in isolation, and then unfortunately, it's unedited. It's just, hey, here's a funny gag. Oh, I laughed. You might chuckle. That's kind of funny. Then we're just going to repeat that gag for 10 minutes until you want to die.
Perry Nemiroff of Collider Video, and I'd like to remind everyone that these people were not invited to Galaxy's Edge. Never forget.
They certainly won't let you.
The action is fun enough, but I could watch Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart, Karen Gillian, and Jack Black play with the body swap concept for hours. She read that well. I'm proud of her. She was able to take copy given to her by Sony Studios and put it right into her review. Good for her.
Yeah, that's kind of what that feels like. And, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like we said, some of the best individual parts of this are them playing around with that rather than any of the action, because the action is so sparse.
Carla Renata of The Curvy Film Critic, one of Robert's favorites.
I have never heard of this woman before.
Wow, yeah. I was actually just about to say, can we please find some critics that Robert's never heard of? Because I'm getting tired of the not again quote.
Okay, I've read from her before.
I will take your word for it.
You've just blocked it out. Body swapping shenanigans make way too much fun. Love Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart together in comedies, plus those Glover and DeVito impersonations. Again, did they just call people that I work with and ask them for like a snippet?
I feel like these critics watched like the first 40 minutes and then left for the last 90. That's kind of what this feels like.
And only 40 minutes because that's how long it takes to get anywhere in this movie.
No. Again, I say 40 minutes because that is everything up to about the car chase and the deal with the ostriches. Like they jump the gorge, 40-minute mark, everyone's out, and just didn't stay for the rest of the movie.
I gotta say, a lot of these critiques sound like they just assumed what the entire movie was about from the trailer and didn't actually see the film. It would not be
the first time said on this show, nor would you be the first person to say we're pretty sure these reviewers didn't see the movie.
That is true.
Tanya Lamb of Lola Lamb Chops. Lamb chops.
Someone actually made a review site called Lola Lamb Chops.
Lola Lamb Chops.
This is the song that never ends.
Jumanji: The Next Level didn't really bring anything new to the table besides new characters that don't fit into the story. I'd leave the kiddos at home for this one. How dare you, madam? How dare you?
You
The
know,
kids are the only ones that'll enjoy it.
I almost wonder if what she didn't mean there is she'd rather the kids as the characters have been left out of it.
Maybe. That might be one way to have interpreted that.
I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt, okay? Because the notion of, well, you shouldn't take your kids to see this. They're the only ones who will enjoy it.
And Adam Graham of Detroit News, top critic, don't bother, play an old-fashioned board game instead.
What, it's lame, but no argument.
It's just a bad reference to the original movie.
Agreed, but you're talking to a woman who disassembles board games for a living.
Hey, I enjoy a good board game. And I mean a good board game.
Just know that my family's not allowed to play Scrabble.
Last one here, and I'm reading this one because I love this guy's name and his website that he writes for. It's fantastic. I haven't even read the review yet. I just think the name and this website is fantastic.
Mark, you are the average man.
Yeah, don't I know it? Johnny Gazmonic of Fanboys of the Universe. Let that one simmer for a moment.
Wasn't that the name of one of Keanu Reeves' roles?
That's Johnny. That's Johnny
Mnemonic.
Mnemonic.
Okay, so somebody's obviously a Keanu Reeves fan and has absolutely no imagination. Good to know.
Well, but you repeat yourself.
Everything about it feels less like an upgrade and more like a retread. It's not so much an exciting take on the previous film as it is an overpriced DLC pack.
Yep, that's about right.
Phil
I'll give him that, but I'll give him that, but I just subtract points for trying to sound too clever with the video game references.
Oh no, wait!
True.
You haven't heard clever until you've heard our final guy, our friend from the Hindustan Times, Rohan Nahar.
Oh no, Rohan, why?
Eddie, Toby, you may want to run.
Caught between the rock and a hard place. Eh?
Sir, do you know how many Indians there are? There's 1 billion people living in that country. How is this jackass the one that posts these reviews? Just just based on statistical probability, this guy should not be doing this job.
I was about to let Eddie take my response there, but he decided to just lean over and start licking his crotch. And you know what? That's as good of a response as any.
I can't stop. Justin Chang of the Los Angeles Times, top critic.
Oh, no, not the Los Angeles Times.
Oh, this is so good. It's one might call it delicious. This is an audio format, and I'm doing hand gestures. If the Jumanji masterminds insist on all this artificial sweetening, can the next level at least be Candy Crush?
What?
I want to step on this guy's throat.
I need to end this podcast, but these are too good.
What the hell was that?
Like that makes more. That would make. Okay, no. Here's what happened. He wanted to work that gag into his Angry Birds review, but it got assigned to a different critic, and he just thought it was too good a line not to immediately recycle at the barest hint of an ability to do so.
Angry Birds is aiming too high. I'm pretty sure he wrote that for the Emoji Movie.
Peter Howell of Toronto Star, top critic. He gets paid for this. He's one of the best. When did Jack Black stop being funny? He's now just a tiresome version of Oscar the Grouch.
That is so profoundly inaccurate.
For the record, what do you guys think about Jack Black potentially announcing his retirement?
Enjoy his riches and have fun.
Yeah,
Well,
look,
he's not retiring per se. He just wants to stop making movies for a while and focus on Tenacious D.
look, man, you do you. He's an underappreciated actor who spent a lot of time relying on shtick because that's what everyone wanted from him, and that's what they paid him for. And you know what? Hey, get paid, man.
Okay, hang on. Bilge Ebiri of New York Magazine /Vulture, top critic.
Okay, again, no, the outlet you're writing for means immediately that your opinion is almost worthless.
Jumanji, the number 2 Manji. Jumanji feels kind of lifeless.
You do know this is actually the third in the franchise, right?
You're not clever, and you deserve to be hurt.
Ignatly Vishnevetsky of the AV Club, top critic. Let's be honest. If you're asking The Rock to do voices, you're out of ideas.
How? What in the world leads you to that conclusion?
I got it. Oh, God, here's another one. Larushka Ivanzadeh of Metro UK. Stay in and play Monopoly instead.
Look, in all seriousness, the fact that these bunch of slap-happy jackwagons can't come up with another board game apart from Monopoly is profoundly sad. I shouldn't have to express how many great board games there are out there, or just tabletop games.
Your dad weighed in with one word.
Okay, fine.
Roger Moore of Movie Nation. Played.
What?
That's one word. Played. He gets to be on Rotten Tomatoes with that kind of insight.
Yeah, I think even Eddie was barking at a what.
I really, really, really profoundly loathe the institutional obstinacy that allows that jackass to continue to have that kind of influence.
All right, I think, speaking of wearing out your welcome and staying
you're going to
too
find
long,
one. Find one more. You know you can. You know you're going to. Get the last one.
I'm going to read these two back to back.
Okay.
Matt Goldberg of Collider and Josh Spiegel of Slash Film. The latest Jumanji film is a one-joke affair that's better suited to an SNL sketch than a 2-hour feature. And
the last half of that sentiment is probably correct. The first, not so much.
If there's a third sequel, they should figure out the story to start.
Didn't we say that? Like, this is just them deciding they had a good time together and wanting to do it again, so we'll figure out the story and the plot. We'll figure everything out about the actual movie as we go along, but hey, let's get together and do this again. It was fun.
Yep. All right. Go ahead, Alexis. Go ahead and do your plugs. We're going to get out of this real quick.
All right. Sorry, had to throw the interrupting corgi outside. Okay, Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic. We are smack dab in the middle of our holiday rush. We are sending out orders as fast as we can in hopes that you guys will get them in time for Christmas. Do not forget that every order we get from both Etsy and our Handmade at Amazon site, every order, we will donate $5 to Children's Mercy Hospital until Christmas night at midnight. That is when the deadline is. You can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, and under duress, Twitter.
Yay.
Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic.
Thank you, Alexis. Robert, you have 50 words to do your plugs with. Go.
Well, this Saturday, I will be at some ungodly hour early in the morning. I will be covering UFC on ESPN Plus 23 in the MMA Zone of 411mania.com. You can listen to my full review of UFC 245, which was a pretty good card. So you can read my full review in the MMA Zone of 411 Mania. You can listen to Mark and I do live watch-along commentary, and you can listen to my full breakdown of of the event and what's next for all relevant parties, etc., with Jeff Harris on the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. It was a long one. We were over 3 hours this time around. But there was a lot about 245 to talk about. That was not only a good event, but one that had a lot of impact for a lot of people going forward. And, again, just if you're interested in the sport of mixed martial arts, please stop by that podcast, give it a listen. It's not as good as I want it to be, but I'm still working on improving things. We'll be back here. We're next week reviewing Skywalker, right?
Yep.
And that was well over 50 words.
That is true. Look, Mark's 50 words or less is actually he arbitrarily whacks off a 0. And because if I give him 50 words or less, it's the same thing.
Wait, if it whacks off a 0, then that means you only get 5 words.
No.
He's
Mark
saying
whacks
that
off a 0.
He's saying that I do 500 word. Hey, check out our review of source materials Runaways by Rainbow Rowell. We'll have a review up of TLC, WWE TLC from 2019. Tomorrow,
It sucked.
we'll have a TV party for the last season of The Runaways. And then, yes, next week it's all Star Wars all the time. So go ahead and check that out. And go see Cats so that Robert has to review it.
If you go see this movie, I will find you and I will do something. I don't know if I'm going to just hit you in a drive-by. I will just drive by and punch you in the face. I will stick a fish inside one of the hubcaps of your car and your car will stink like dead fish for 8 weeks. I don't know, but I will do something terrible to people who see this movie.
You've got 6 weeks to come up with a better threat.
And I will love you all forever because remember...
Okay, how serious do you want the threat to be?
Memories all alone in the moonlight. I don't remember how the rest of it goes. All right.
No one does.
There's not actually a rest of the song. It's a bunch of... It's cacophonous noises and lip syncing.
It's just people shouting memories. All right. For Robert Winfree, whose favorite movie will be Cats, and for Alexis Hejna, who will make jewelry for cats, I am Mark Radulich, and I will go see cats, and my daughter will pet cats, and we're all Angelico cats, Congelico cats, or Frangelico cats. Good night. Be well.
Now I want to step on your neck.
Rawr. Be well, be safe, and behave.